Hello, and welcome to episode 144 of Dark and Stormy Book Club. Today we have a double header. We have Smith Henderson and Jon Marc Smith. They are collaborators on the fascinating book, Make Them Cry.
Smith Henderson is the author of 4th of July Creek and lives in California and Montana. Jon Marc Smith teaches English at Texas State University and lives in San Marcos, Texas. The duo became friends in 2000 when Jon Marc Smith was an MFA candidate at Texas State, but it wasn't until 2007 when Henderson was working on his own MFA at the University of Texas that the two began collaborating. Their friendship evolved the old-fashioned way, in bars over beers. Make Them Cry is their first novel together. In Make Them Cry, it's hard to make Diane Harbaugh flinch. A former prosecutor notorious for her aggressive tactics, she's now a DEA agent who interrogates witnesses so effectively she has them confessing in tears. But when she hears from Gustavo, a high-ranking cartel member with an invaluable secret about the international black market, she's thrown for a loop. She heads to Mexico to meet him, and her entire understanding of justice and duty is thrown into question. Gustavo sends her down a rabbit hole that leads to a criminal conspiracy more pervasive than anything she and the DEA ever suspected. She teams up with Ian Carver, a disillusioned CIA agent, and begins to unravel layers of deceptions, grifts, and schemes that date back to the beginnings of the Afghanistan War. As they learn more, they become the target of cartel assassins, embittered spies, and even their own government. They are at the center of an international manhunt with world-changing consequences, and the only way out is for Diane to do the one thing she promised to herself she'd never do. Stylishly written and relentlessly plotted, Make Them Cry is an action-packed thriller of unimaginable stakes.
We would like to welcome Smith Henderson and Jon Marc Smith to the program. Welcome, Smith and Jon Marc.
Thank you.
Hi, thanks for having us.
We read that you have been collaborating on Make Them Cry for many years, and at one point had to start again from page 1. Was there ever a thought that you wanted to give up?
Only every day, really.
I was going to say not no. Yeah, definitely. That's maybe a little facetious because I like hanging out with Jon Marc so much that we would have worked on something together. But yeah, it was tough. Basically what happened was we realized that we had started the story too late, that we were too deep into the story. We needed to back up because we were writing a lot of stuff that was backstory, explaining a lot of stuff and setting stuff up. At some point, I think it dawned on me anyway. I don't know, Jon Marc, what happened for you when I told you? I was like, hey.
I can't say it was the happiest I've ever been with you. When somebody's right, they're right, and you were right. So we just realized that we had screwed up. If we wanted to write a good book, that we needed to start over. Once you realize that, and then once I realized that you were right, we didn't really have a choice about it. We just had to.
Well, we're really glad you did. It was a great book.
Thank you. We appreciate hearing that.
We've always been curious about writers collaborating together to make a story. How does your collaboration work? Do you each write a portion, or do you talk it out and write it together? How do you meld your product into one voice?
We're really glad to hear you say that last part, because that's exactly what we're trying to do, is make it where it's one voice and people can't find the seams. So that's the goal. Basically what we do on the front end, we outline the whole story. We do the beats of the story. So we come up with every little thing that's going to happen before we start really writing anything down.
Talking about process, I think that's like the key is figuring out a process that works for you. You know, I don't know if some of your audience is probably aspiring writers. To us, that's really important, is figuring out just how to do it. And every book has got its own way of teaching you how to write it. For us, though, one thing that I think is pretty consistent is some giant Post-it note. These really big Post-its, and again, in different colors. You can put a Post-it note on a window or a wall or whatever, and we'll have something written on it. It'll say like, Diane gets in trouble with somebody here. It's just a note for us that says, okay, we'll know what that story beat is. And that beat, that big Post-it note, might eventually become 4 more Post-it notes. So you put it up there and you got it marked down, but you really don't know until you get in there what it's going to look like. And that will happen when one of us says, I'm going to go tackle this. I'm going to go write this chapter. More often than not, we'll circle back and I'll be saying to Jon Marc, yeah, we had a little trouble here. I need to talk this out. That's the cool thing about having a partner to write with. You have someone who's invested and knows what you're talking about when you get in there and it gets stuck. And so we'll talk it out. Sometimes I'll pass the baton to him or vice versa, and we'll just take turns.
Well, it sounds like it's like a double-edged sword, that it's in some ways it's really beneficial to have another voice, but then sometimes especially if you don't agree on the direction.
I would say for us, it's way more beneficial than negative in the sense that we don't really argue very much about the overall direction. We have disagreements about minor things, and sometimes we have trouble figuring things out, and it can be frustrating. We definitely don't have battles about big issues. So it's really a huge benefit because your partner's able to see things that you're not able to see. You're able to obviously share the work. That's one thing that's really important, is you have an incentive to keep going because you owe the other person the work. Sometimes it's really hard when you're writing on your own, especially if you don't have a contract, writing on spec. Why are you doing it? It's hard to sometimes feel like it's going to pay off. And when you have somebody else that you're working with, you have a contract with them and you owe it to them. So that is a way of incentivizing, forcing you to sit down and do the work.
Now, you guys collaborated on a movie script, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
A couple, yeah.
I was just wondering if writing the book and writing the script is different.
They are, of course. The screenplay is just a completely different kind of thing. I remember I had a screenwriting class that was filled mostly with novelists when I was going to the University of Texas. The prof came in. He was this awesome gentleman, Stephen Harry. He's actually been a mentor to the two of us in the process of writing screenplays. He came in and he wrote on the board, the script is not the thing. And he quickly disabused us of the notion that we were writing the national anthem or whatever. Like you have to key yourself up when you're writing a novel that this is worth, like that this is the whole thing. And when you write a screenplay, you're actually just writing something for somebody else. So when we started writing screenplays together, I think that gave us the framework of understanding how to collaborate. I don't think like Lennon and McCarthy like trying to impress each other every day by like writing better. I think for us, is this clear to just an average person? Can we get this on the page and does it work for some ideal vague reader that exists out there? And so we're not personally invested in trying to make a really intense artistic statement as much as trying to just make the story move along and it be entertaining. And in a weird way, that's sort of liberating because when I wrote my first book, I was definitely trying to get myself on the page in some way, And this is like, do you like this? Does this work?
Now that you have completed the story, you must have a very good knowledge or you have a very good feel for who Diane Harbaugh is. Do you see her continuing in a series?
Oh, yeah. We'd love her to. It's funny. I like the way that you said it in terms of us knowing her as a character. The thing is, like, we didn't know her as a character when we first started off. When we started this project a decade ago, she played a completely different role and it was necessary. But then we realized how much more interesting she was and could be. And so she sort of took over the book and like made the book be centered on her, really. Like that character became the protagonist over many years. And so we just didn't understand her for a long time. I think it took us forever, but we finally got an understanding of her. We're really looking forward to having her do more stuff, do more things, get into more trouble, and globetrot around the world, see what kind of stuff she gets into.
She is definitely a good kick-ass protagonist for a story. She put these men in their places.
The two things I liked most about her. I liked, first of all, her last name is awesome because we have Jon Harbaugh here as the best NFL coach for the Ravens.
I don't remember exactly, but it's very likely that we took that last name from the Harbaughs.
And then I love the whole scene where she was pretty much doing everything barefoot, because I am a huge advocate for not wearing shoes.
We had to do a lot of research in that area because we knew nothing about women's shoes. So
She was walking down the sidewalk in New Mexico with the heat down there in bare feet. I don't know. It had asbestos shoe.
I loved it. I was like, you go, girl.
There's a confidence that comes with going barefoot, right? So you're vulnerable, but it's like there's an inherent bravery to it.
Well, obviously you are continuing on with Diane's story. Is she going to stay in California, or is she going to venture off into other areas?
Not to spoil anything, but in the book already, for people who haven't read it, at the end, she's really chosen to make a dramatic change in her life. We just started writing the first couple chapters of the next book, and you find her on a freighter ship in the Mediterranean. She's been around the world. It picks up a couple years later. She's off on some pretty awesome international missions that take her all over the world and get her in even trouble with even bigger and scarier forces. We're pretty excited about it. One of our inspirations for this was it has sort of an action movie feel, but we also really like those smart 1970s international or spy movies like 3 Days of the Condor or The French Connection. Movies that had Gene Hackman, you know?
Yeah, pretty much.
But with the actual like Jason Bourne and James Bond. So yeah, that's gangsters, mobsters, and spies. It's kind of the world we're in.
Working for the DEA is probably one of the most dangerous jobs you can have. Many people say we've lost the war on drugs. What made you decide to use drug cartels in this story as the focus?
both of us see the war on drugs that we've been fighting in this country for, it just sort of depends on how you date it, something like 50 years. Smith and I both see it as the major geopolitical fact of definitely the last few decades, as big in its way as the Cold War, sort of. It's something that's had just an enormous impact on Mexico, the United States, but lots and lots of countries. And it's had an impact on virtually everyone's daily life. Whether they are involved in law enforcement or drug dealing or anything, it still affects all of us. And certainly it affects us in terms of the money we spend on it and the people that are in jail, et cetera, et cetera. In lots of ways, we kind of feel like it's not written about enough, that it's something that's such a major part of our lives, especially our political and social lives, but many of us just kind of don't think about it. In that sense, we're interested in bringing it to the foreground. We also think the world of the drug cartels is an inherently dramatic and exciting world, and so therefore it makes for a really good narrative.
Yeah, it really does. Did you worry a little about, especially with this whole situation with South America and the relationship, did you worry about how to approach that?
You know, I think you'll always try and educate yourself in any book that you're working on. You just do research until the book is done. When do you know enough to write? And the answer is never. You're never fully briefed on the subject matter when you're writing about somebody else's life that you're making up. There's always going to be gaps in your knowledge. Even now, I'm still reading up on this stuff and discovering things that, honestly, I kind of wish I could have made it into the book, but I didn't know them. But then you go, well, that's the kind of ballast that you need to continue to tell the story. You know, raw materials are just like there for you to hopefully draw on. You just keep going, and you kind of have to be humble about the material. You know, you can't approach it like you know everything. You have to really honestly recognize where you don't know something and learn about it.
Well, just this year, the discovery of the longest tunnel at 4,309 feet was discovered between Tijuana and San Diego. Did this play a part in your plotting at all?
The idea of tunnels as being really important, and like really sophisticated, very long ones, is like something that we absolutely read about. They're very valuable. They are one of the major delivery systems for getting drugs across the United States border. El Chapo was like the king of tunnels. That was one of his innovations that made him so important as a cartel leader, in that he was really innovative in terms of how he did tunnels and that he had a lot of tunnels and that they were very sophisticated tunnels. I think that's where we got the inspiration. And we knew